said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover State of Fear. Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear. You got Brian and myself this week. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
I'm good. I know this won't come out for a bit, but it's slightly, Jersey's weather's changing slightly, so the sun has finally come out. Is Ohio get some sun at all?
Yeah, we had a little sun finally last week, but don't get too excited. The groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter.
Didn't the groundhog say early spring?
No. Saw his
No.
shadow. That's 6 more weeks of winter, dude.
No, he said early spring.
No. I double checked. We're not doing it. Don't get on if you Google, I'm going to quit the show. I'll quit the fucking show.
Actually,
I need to look this up. Hold on. Let's stop.
Is there that... Why hasn't...
We're already talking about the weather, which is just terrible.
It's terrible banter. It's terrible banter.
Awful. The worst.
I was a bit with the coffee cup and the... it's tea, actually.
I'm doing it ironically. God.
Yeah, I was doing a bit. Speaking of a bit, wait. Groundhog's Day doesn't count, but there's never been a Groundhog's Day, actual horror movie, right? Like, the movie, the concept is a fucking horror movie, but I mean, a groundhog...
they've used the concept of the movie, the repeating day thing. That's become more a couple times now.
Totally
but as far as, a groundhog's theme, I'm sure there is one. There's one for everything. So I'm sure there's some asylum trash, but as far as, a mainstream movie that you would actually watch, probably not. No.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do with it, really.
Some sort of
maybe giant mutant groundhog?
Yeah, a groundhog sees a shadow and then
monster?
something just fucking terrorizing a small Pennsylvania town.
Eating guys who are dressed up in weird top hats and whatever.
Yeah, that puddle there.
That sounds actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's I think you could make a look at something like Zombievers, right? That's a fun ass.
There you
go. It knows it's bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of Zombievers, have you watched anything recently?
I actually do think my horror watching has been a little light, or I'm also getting worse about tracking things and putting things into Twitter when I'm watching them, so I forget. I
remember last night I was like, "Ooh, Brian's taking this opportunity of not recording to be active," and I forget watch Interview with a Vampire.
No. Last night I watched. That had to be a little while ago. I watched a movie called The Conference 2 days ago. It's on Netflix. It's a slasher. It's got a guy in a mask and a bunch of people. It's a Swedish movie, but it was dubbed, and it's a bunch of people at a work retreat who start getting picked off, and it's fun. It was a fun kind of by the numbers, but nothing wrong with that slasher movie.
Yeah, that's cool. I watched kind of the same. No, it was ish. I think this was on Shudder. Destroy All Neighbors. I watched recently.
Okay.
It was a Evil Dead kind of American Werewolf in London kind of inspired movie. It's with the comedian Jonah Ray, the one who did a bunch of that nerdish shit.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Maybe
I think you'd recognize the voice. He was always on the Nerds. Basically, it's Shudder, low budget. It was pretty fun. He is a musician who ends up killing his neighbor, and then he starts every person he ends up killing, he ends up talking to, the
Ryan Reynolds picture of Voices.
Kind of. It was a little, but it was very that slapsticky where and then they help him finish his metal album.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very like a Gonzo movie, like it was fine. It had moments to it, like there was one thing in it with this old lady who then dies, and she's just like an awesome like claymation or real, like not claymation, but like real effect skeleton who's just like funny. But that was a recent kind of horror-ish. I was like trying to feel out some Shudder releases.
Yeah, Shudder's got some good stuff. You just got to sift through,
Yeah, Shudder definitely gets I don't know.
Sometimes they make movies,
And
and
one
their
of them,
movies come out, and we watch them. This is a rare kind of new release for us.
yeah.
We don't often cover new movies. Like we very rarely cover anything that's like in the theater
What was
or
the last new release we covered
the on this show.
on this
Never,
show?
nothing,
Never.
never,
Like
never done it.
I don't think there's anything that's been released that me and you were like, doesn't mean it won't be one day.
Yeah. Well, this one got my attention. It got some heavy promotion when it was like getting its theatrical run. I think it probably played some festivals and stuff,
Mhm.
but it's supposedly a tribute to the films of Stuart Gordon, who made Reanimator and other weird, horny horror movies
Yeah,
that
I
are
think that's
gross.
very apparent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they weren't like trying to be subtle about it. That was like on Front Street. This may even I'm not sure. I didn't do any research, and Joe usually does, and he didn't either. So I'm just gonna say things, and you should look them up. If you're watching
Well,
now and you're wondering if the
no,
thing I'm saying is true.
I have two fun fact notes.
Oh, okay. I
So I
stand
did do
corrected.
research
This is embarrassing.
yesterday. Didn't
Truly.
take notes on this episode. Spoiler, but I still remember the whole thing because it was watched today.
I know he knows everything about it. This guy
Everything.
tuned in.
So no, this film is an adaptation of a 1933 short story, "The Thing on the Doorstep" by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, obviously.
Screenwriter Dennis Paulo previously adapted H.P. Lovecraft stories for the 1980s films Reanimator and Far and From Beyond.
From Beyond. That's the one I couldn't think of, where a guy has like the little pineal gland that looks like a dick coming out of his
Hmm.
head.
All starring Barbara Crampton
Yeah.
and a lot of dicks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, uh, I was wondering if this was something. It's cool that they got the same writer that worked with Stuart Gordon. I didn't know this was ever something that Stuart Gordon was planning to adapt and maybe couldn't. Um,
Maybe.
yeah, that's the only thing I was thinking about. Like, sounds like the type of fact you might hear. But if you did a little research and you didn't come across it, that would be like that would be at the top of the trivia. That would
Well,
be right up
the
there.
one thing like it's not even I came across, and you're talking about the filmmaker itself, is if you go to Letterboxd, it's interesting because it's just like it's the new way of like movies. The
Sure.
first one in the comments reading is, "Yeah, I made this movie and I'm damn proud of it. Got a problem with that, pal? I've been in New York all week. Sorry." That's like what he wrote.
Yeah.
5 stars for surviving the shoot and everyone involved in this flick. We hope you dig. Just thank you to everyone. Love or hate, I'm happy you watched it. Other notes: sexy mustache orderly, maybe too much. I guess he was the orderly.
Is that the director,
That's the director, Joe Lynch, and I
Joe
was like
Lynch?
that. I was like, that's pretty cool that
Yeah.
he logged it on Letterbox and was just like, I made the movie.
Yeah.
Here it is. Like,
Well, I think it's pretty clearly, uh,
it's a love
regardless of
letter.
where you fall on it, clearly a labor of love. The people involved with it are enjoying themselves, and they're making something. There's like some passion to it. The only thing I'm familiar with Joe Lynch, I'm just looking at a quick,
Yeah, I didn't.
is Mayhem. Did you ever see Mayhem? It's a Steven Yeun movie. There were like two movies that came out around the same time that were about like they were like set in office buildings, and
Like,
they were like
Bilko
either
Experiment.
yeah, there was the Belko experiment, and then there's Mayhem was like another one that was similar to that.
No, I think I could visualize the. Let's see. No, I'm not familiar. I was gonna say I could
Yeah.
visualize the poster, but
Either way, that's the only thing I've seen.
Everly. Oh
Uh,
no, he's acting in that. Is he acting in that?
oh, I have no idea.
I was gonna say I'm familiar with this movie, which is semi Hayek shoot 'em up movie called Everly.
Okay, I've never seen that, but I believe it.
I'm familiar with
That's
that.
when everybody was getting a Taken right after Taken was big.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
I watched that on cable or something at some point. Other than that, not familiar.
No.
But so I do want to say, let me just read this synopsis. But before I will give you my positives before we start on the forefront. Full cards on display. Wasn't too much of a fan of the movie itself, and I'll get into that. But suitable flesh. Psychiatrist Elizabeth Derby becomes obsessed with helping a young patient who is suffering from extreme personality disorder. However, it soon leads her into occult danger as she tries to escape from a horrific fate. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sure.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, the movie for me, I was excited to watch it because, like I said, we get like I love get like these Shutter originals have
It
a
came in
lot
pretty
have.
hot. Like I said, I had heard some pretty good
No, I heard
buzz,
good
and
thing about it. Buzz, like the horror journalists and horror accounts were pretty pumping it up. It has a
but
very
again, we've talked about too the positivity of horror community is sometimes a double-edged sword.
yeah,
It's
and
hard to
that's where
judge objectively with them sometimes.
and that's where like I'm a victim of it and for myself. And it has a cool poster, like it has a very like
Oh,
chic
great looking poster.
and it also has Heather Graham going for me. I've always liked Heather Graham.
Right?
Uh I think she's why like what she was so well used, like when she's someone who was like used perfectly in movies, like she shined, right? Like Bowfinger and Boogie Nights and
Austin
Austin
Powers.
Powers, those a few years. And I mean, even her small role, I remember she pops up in The Hangover, and it's like, oh shit, there's Heather Graham. She hadn't worked in a while. She was awesome in this movie. Her and Barbara Crampton, I think, were really like
Yeah,
two
you can
stars.
definitely see why she would want to take this role. Um, I I also think it's nice to see her like going back to her horned roots. She's like, no, I do horny movies. That's
She
what I'm
does do
about.
a lot of,
Like
and she does them well.
that's what I'm about. And that was, good for her. She knows her strength and she's plays to her strengths. The movie starts with a framing device of like her in the asylum, and Barbara Crampton comes in to visit her, and then she kind of tells her the story in that classic like "How did I get here?" sort of way. I thought at the time I was like, oh, this is a nice way to. So Barbara Crampton's going to be in this, and then she'll pop up in the end, and that's
That's
kind of
what I
how they're
thought
gonna.
too.
Right,
That's
but then she actually becomes a pretty big part of the movie, so I was pretty excited about that when she started like middle of the movie. She starts coming in more and more, and I was like, oh, sweet,
yeah. The kid,
excellent.
the the main male, the kid,
Hmm.
comes to her. Yeah, but I thought the same thing, Brian. I thought it was going to be like how like Robert Englund will show up for like a shit ton of these like
Right.
low budget horror movies
They
and
want him so they can put his name on the front and
be
his
a
picture, but he's
presence.
showing up for. He's in the movie for about 5 minutes, and he's filmed all his scenes in one day. He's peppered throughout, but he's barely in it.
Yeah, and he's there just enough too, so like the cast and crew be like the greatest guy I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
Um, that was a good. I actually watched that recently too. The Robert Englund documentary just about his life and career.
Oh no, I don't think I've
I
seen that.
think it's
What's it
called.
on?
It was on Prime. It was called
Oh,
Hollywood Nightmare. It might even be on Shutter too.
it's,
Hollywood. I think it's called Hollywood Nightmare and Dreams, something like that. It's
oh
very,
yeah,
you
I
know,
could
Freddie
definitely
Pop.
probably get Sarah to watch that with me.
Oh, you guys would eat it up. Very like interesting, just actor's life, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Oh,
seemingly.
absolutely. I love Robert Englund. I
Uh,
love. I love hearing about, especially people who play an iconic role like that, like what they did before that, and then like how that affected them going forward and stuff. That's always an interesting story.
yeah, from what that one is, he just embraced it eventually, but he fought against it after a certain point and
Oh,
like
sure, I'm sure.
did a bunch of shit. I'm looking because I'm checking to see if my double feature was that. I'm pretty sure I watched that movie second, and before that I watched the Albert Brooks.
I did watch the Albert Brooks one.
It
That
was
was
the
great.
it was that, and then I was like, ooh yeah, no, I'm feeling this
I'm
like
very ooh yeah, that's very film bro. Like I'm gonna
yeah,
watch the Albert Brooks and then the Robert Englund doc back to back.
I'm
That's
feeling this
very
yeah, it rule. It was so I watched that very recently. But so back to Subtle Flesh. Yes, it was nice to see Barbara Crampton and the guy, the kid. Let's get his name right.
Asa, but the
Asa.
actor's name was what, Judah something?
Judah Lewis.
Okay.
He's essentially the Scream King in his own right. He was the boy from the Babysitter movies,
Oh, okay.
and
They
there's
made
another
two of
one.
those, didn't they?
There was two of the Babysitter, Killer Queen, which was fine. And then Summer of '84.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
Which I'm a big fan of, and I
Yeah,
think
that's a
he's the
good one
main.
too.
I think he's the main, which we should cover one day. He's the main kid in that. Um, and then also for Christmas fans, he's the Christmas Chronicles, the bad boy
Oh, the brother, the older
the
brother.
brother.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's only in a couple things. So I was like, because he was like, you look really familiar. And
Yeah.
at first, I thought he was one of those Australian kids from Better Watch Out, and I was like, no, it's not that kid. Um. So anyway, so they're like there's faces we've seen before.
Sure.
And then I mean, even his father looked familiar, Bruce Davidson.
Oh, Bruce Davidson's and everything. I was going to say,
Yeah, I was like,
let's just talk about the movie instead of
yeah.
just,
Let's talk
let's
about the
just get
movie.
into it. It's fine.
Yeah.
So you get the classic setup. This is a classic pass the curse movie, right? She starts
Body
telling Barbara
switch.
Cram. Yeah, but there's body switching, but it's a pass on the curse, as in like
It's a
something
curse.
like the ring or something. It's like,
Talk to me.
yeah, the kid comes into her office, help, I need, and then he has like a seizure, and then he switches, and he's clearly a different personality, and she's like all excited. Ooh, he's so intriguing. He's a subject. He's such an interesting subject, and we see her at home, and she's got like a really like she's got like a hunky husband, but he's kind of boring, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he's like fine, right? Like
yeah, like
he's
I mean, he's like a handsome dude, and he's in good shape and everything, but like
salt and
he's
pepper
just a little
hair,
bland.
like
He's just like a little bland. You see him having some like kind of pretty passionless sex, and then she starts fantasizing about this greasy little dweeb that she only met one time, which is so weird to me.
and well, that too is what's also interesting, right? The kid's not like the creepy kid,
Yeah,
Asa, is not a stud, right? So it's nothing you'd imagine someone's
right.
going to fantasize about. That's also why I'm like, oh, there's immediately like some sort of spell on it. But she's
Well, yeah,
visualizing, and it's very,
it's
and
it's clearly, yeah, she's getting some kind of, yeah,
uh,
vibe from
oh,
him.
I also just went to by the way, I just went to the husband's IMDb, not IMDb, his wiki and his things. He's worked for years. He must be a just, and I mean this in endearing terms, like just movies like this, just like trash,
Oh yeah,
like ball, like just things called like Dark Circles, Angels Falls. I guess one of the Prom Night remakes, Quarantine. Hell, he's a horror
yeah. He's just the guy who
person.
does horror movies.
The sweetest. Oh, he was in the sweetest thing, uncredited. So anyway, yeah, he's worker, but yeah, they're passionate. He's not that passionate. Um, but one you mentioned them that like this is erotic. This I think also this is except for Infinity Pool. This is also the first. I was surprised how erotic this movie was.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I knew
I
it
mean,
was
I
gonna
guess because of
be
subtle flesh, it's not really.
because it was a Stuart Gordon movie. I knew it was gonna be horny, but it's also like, yeah, like you said, trying to be a little more like passionate, like sensual at times.
So this is my big, and I don't think this is on purpose. Those scenes,
Yeah,
majority of them, are from the Tommy Wiseau sex scene school.
yeah.
But
I mean,
no, not looking at Heather Graham and some of those shots. Like that is just it. Like from like the music present to the camera's real cheap
yeah,
to like the lighting. It was all
yeah.
very
I
like
thought it felt very, like what you call it, the daytime soap opera. You know what I mean? That's
and
kind of the
that's maybe that
vibe
was
I
on
was getting from
purpose
it. Melodramatic.
or
You
like
know?
or yeah or like Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, that was like there was a few things I'm like, oh, this is very Room-like of how long we're lingering.
Yeah.
The only I guess fortunate part there's no Tommy Wiseau like weird HGH body ass on the screen.
Right. They at least everybody's
That
at
poor
least in a
girl.
position where sex could be happening.
Yeah, that
Not
poor
like in the
girl.
room.
That poor girl in the room.
So she gets the call from the kid, help again, you know. He she goes to his house, which is like where his dad lives. And in their session, he had kind of implied that his dad was like after him, but it's very vague. Like, and he gets interrupted by his seizure possession thing, his what she thinks is personality switch. You know,
Mhm.
um,
And the seizure, like it's very focused on the hands, and it almost looks to the point where, like, truly, I knew nothing about this movie. I didn't even realize it was like Stuart Gordon thing. I knew the Barbara Crampton connection,
yeah,
where I was like, it's like they're like werewolfing, like they're like stretching
yeah, they're doing the
out.
like, yeah, kind of like finger, you know, kind
Yeah,
of
and I was like,
twitchy. And I don't
and
know if that's because if that's like supposed to be a thing that's
I think it's just like,
associated with whoever the spirit is, the original spirit
yeah, I
who's
think it's
like,
just a tell, like if it's
yeah, it's like
hands
a
like
tell
that,
exactly.
because there's
There's a
that and
couple.
the
Well, there's a couple
cigarettes.
tells. There's the hand. He also, whenever they're possessed by whatever is this, rolls his own cigarettes. He's always doing the little cigarette. He's
I
got
like that. I
rolling
did like that
cigarettes.
touch. That was a nice little character quirk. But at first, if I was taking notes, it would have been, are we going to get a werewolf movie or like a monster movie? Because they cut away after the first time it happens in the office.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. So she goes to his house, and that's where we get our wild, as I hear here, a wild Bruce Davison appears. If you're not a Bruce Davison fan, you might know him from the first X-Men movie. He was the senator who turns into a water blob. He's in Seinfeld. He's the guy who runs Susan's Foundation after she passes away, which is which
my favorite
messes with
thing,
George. He's also in Lords of Salem, which is a movie we might cover someday.
yes, my favorite thing about you, Brian, or one of them of being a host and doing podcasts with you now for, I don't know, what the better part of 6 years,
Yeah.
is your deep knowledge of character actors or side character or like, and like knowing their name and then being like Seinfeld. They're all in Seinfeld.
Everybody's in Seinfeld. My wife does it with X Files or Golden Girls. Like if
X
you're an
Files is a big
if
one.
you're an older actor, she's gonna clock you from the Golden Girls or from X Files.
It's like that's a big one, the X Files. So anyway, I love talking and bringing it up. I remember the first
Oh, I
thing.
love. I'm just a big fan. I like Bruce Davison. I think he's a good actor. I think he's like a fun actor. I like when he pops up in things.
Mhm.
Um,
It was a good
and he's
scene.
doing a fun performance here because he's doing that thing where like everybody who's possessed has to act a certain way, so you get to see that kind of persona portrayed by different people. So it's fun. He's getting to be kind of sleazy and
They,
stuff, you
they
know.
kind of have the way the original person is, right? Who we don't know the name of the possessed person that's jumping body to body.
Right, we never
They
find out.
have
In fact, I think when she confronts him about it, he doesn't seem to remember. He's been
no, he
doing it
doesn't.
so long, he kind
There's
of does not, you know.
there's the question of, oh, I'm pretty sure I was born a man, but I like jumping into, like jumping in any body, and I feel like a woman sometimes. The man, like it was a pretty good scene. Yeah, the spirit acts very much like Charles Lee Ray. Like it has like a Chucky kind of vibe. Like
Yeah, sure.
I feel like there was inspiration from like a Brad Dourif cadence when, at least when the kid's playing, at least when the main, like the main vessel is playing
Yeah,
him, it reminds me not of like Chucky but of like Brad Dourif,
yeah,
almost,
kind of younger, sleazier Brad
yeah.
Dourif. Yeah, yeah, I could see
uh
that absolutely.
but yeah, sorry, go on with because that's a great, she's talking to him and she's trying to basically get to the bottom because she can't get this kid out of her head, so she wants to help.
Yeah, so she's trying to figure out what he needs help and like even what's going on with the dad. How is he abusive? What is it? And she has a conversation with him. She doesn't really get, but she does manage to cut herself and bleed into his Magic Cthulhu book a little bit. So you know that's going to be bad news. You know. Um, And while she's there, does he switch that time? I don't think so. And then she
Mm,
leaves because we have another scene with her at her office where she's with a different patient. And I loved this. I thought it was really funny at the time. It ends up being an okay plan and payoff, but in the moment, I thought it was very funny how quickly she switched into hypnosis. She's just doing like regular
yeah.
talk psychiatry. You know, guys like talking and getting mad, and you think he might be talking about wanting to punch his kid, beat his little kid up.
I thought it was his wife, but
Is his
yeah,
wife?
I thought it was
He's
being
definitely
his
trying to.
wife.
He's definitely like repressing rage
But it's
about
just because
smashing his family,
but
though.
it's just cigarettes.
Yeah,
He's just trying to
yeah.
quit cigarettes,
He's
clearly.
trying to quit cigarettes, I guess. Um,
He's like, I just want to fucking. And she also,
but
like, she's a terrible therapist because she's like, well,
oh,
she's like,
I,
well,
I,
time.
I,
All right, next week.
I literally. Well, I love the fact that she like. There's so many reasons she's a terrible therapist, but like, I actually stopped. I had a note here. I was like, we're gonna have to have a moment where like, is there ever been a good psychiatrist in a horror movie? Kind of like by nature, a psychiatrist in a horror movie has to be bad at their job, or the movie would not work. Probably,
Yeah,
like,
the word. I think he was a psychiatrist. The first person that came to mind, and it's a terrible one because literally the plot of the movie is hide and seek, the De Niro Dakota
oh
Fanning
yeah,
one,
that's a terrible one.
where
Oh,
he just, if I remember correctly, spoiler, makes her up.
yeah, I
Is that
think so.
I think that's he like killed her at some point. I forget the movie, but like
Yeah.
yeah, you're Brian. That's a good observation. There's never been a good therapist in a horror movie.
No, because if a therapist was good at their job in a horror movie, they would probably like help the person, and then the movie would end, and there wouldn't
Yeah,
be any.
but even before the horror starts, man, she's just like he's like, oh, I'm one more thing, and she's like, huh, nope, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, yeah. That's well. I like that she leaves him hypnotized and like basically like gritting his teeth and like clenching his fist so hard he's gonna like shatter his own bones. But like just so she can have a weird, awkward, horny conversation with a teenager in the hallway. She like totally forgets about this guy. But I just love the switch of like regular talk therapy to like, have you ever tried hypnosis? Let's do something. And he's just like, boop, 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 you're hypnotized. I was that good. I don't know. No worries. You're
No
hypnotized
lights
now.
out, no cover your eyes,
Just lay back.
just
I'm going to tap my pencil or say some things, and boom, you're hypnotized. I mean, it's fine. I just thought it was very funny, her like very casual switch to hypnosis. Um, so back, she goes back to the house again.
mm-hmm.
And this is where we get the big body switch while she's there. Like,
And she's acts
basically
different.
in the room, like, she
Yeah,
comes in and Bruce Davis is sleazy, and then like Ace is there, and it's like no, and then she switches, and then even though his his corpse is laying there, she still is like so mesmerized by this kid, she has to bang him right there
she
in the
bangs him
office,
right there,
right there.
then like gets out of there in a panic,
Well, no,
or
they kind of
no,
have
he
like
holds.
they have the simultaneous orgasm slash body switch, right? Like this
Mm-hmm.
is where she first. Supposedly, the way the possession works is there's three possessions. They last a little longer each time, and the third one's final. So, like, you have a first little switch, and then you go back in your own body, and then the next one it's a little bit longer, and then you go back, and then when they switch you a third time, that's
That's
permanent.
it.
They've
You're
taken your
done.
body, and you're left with whatever's wherever they left you.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a corpse. Usually you're left in a corpse. Um, which is basically what happens here. The Asa, the young kid, now has whatever the main spirit is in him, and his original personality is in Bruce Davison's body on the floor.
He's dead.
Uh, just well, dead-ish. That's the thing. It's like the bodies because
Well,
the
it becomes
spirits can kind of
reanimated because it
yeah the
starts talking
spirits
when he fucking holds it up.
right can kind of reanimate the corpses and like so there's still a chance they could get back, or if there's like you think the body's dead and you're safe, the spirit can kind of reanimate it. So there's like a weird
Well,
element going on
the
there
first
too.
thing Heather Graham says to Barbara Crampton or Ish in the movie is kill the brain.
Yeah, when
Did you
she's in the
guys?
asylum and she's like worried about whatever body did it get fully destroyed. Yeah,
So you're not wrong, but yeah, that's a wild scene of the murderous just happens. We still gotta fuck, and then a
Sex right there next to the body.
and then a talking
A quick
corpse.
body switch. Also, quick. We have our first little body switch there, so you're having that weird thing happen.
Yeah,
all in all in the span of like a couple minutes. Um, so Barbara, she goes to see Barbara Crampton after this, and I love that we have an element here where the bad psychiatrist has her own bad psychiatrist. We're just like Russian nesting dolls of terrible psychiatrists who give bad advice and don't believe their clients.
how could you ever believe your clients, especially a trusted a colleague, more or less?
Can't believe her. She's crazy.
No, you're nuts. You're just horny. That's basically the okay, yeah.
Um, Heather Graham has a haunt dream where she's sitting on the, I called it window edging because she's edging on the edge of a window. She starts to dream about the kid going down on her, and then
Old
it's
man.
I was getting a mustache ride from Bruce Davidson. No. And then she like falls out the window and then does the thing where when she hits she wakes up, you know. Uh I like this element. I like the idea of the kid, uh, like, well, I said call him the kid, but the spirit that's in
Mhm.
Ace now, using trapping his own body and then switching with her, so he uses his body to kidnap her. That's fun.
Mhm.
That's a fun bit.
No, that my thing with this movie is like there's strong shit fun here. It's just I don't love the I don't like. Actually, you know what it is? Not that, like I said, the performances are pretty fun. I don't actually like the filmmaking of the movie. I think it's
Yeah,
a.
I don't think the
I
filmmaking
think
is great.
I think this movie's take the same movie is done better by a better director and script. Like some
Yeah,
things are executed so weird.
I think there's definitely a budgetary limit. I think they're also specifically trying to make it look like a Stuart Gordon movie, like Reanimator, with where the budget was low and they were really
Yeah, but
pushing.
those were like like at least Reanimator and like Brottery, they're like charming, the Stuart Gordon
Yeah, I
stuff.
agree. I agree.
There's a sense of a midnight feature to them. You know, a
I
midnight
think
movie to
this
them.
one um, leans a little bit more into the sex aspect. That's part of it. Although I guess From Beyond's pretty horny. But also I think they kind of wait till the third act, and again, it's probably budgetary to
Third,
really pull the trigger on a lot of the stuff that they
so the
have.
third act's really fun when we
Right, and then
go.
that's when like you get a lot of the bigger effects and stuff
Mhm.
too, like practical effects. So I think that harms it. I think if you could have peppered a little bit more of that through the movie, that
I
would
think
help.
the like when we're kind of leading there with your breakdown of
Mhm.
like when she confronts her husband and then they have sex
Yeah,
and she's possessed and she's cutting him and the police come and there's that tension there and then she's the possession happens again, or sorry, it removes the possession because she's
yeah.
flirting with the cop, uh and then the husband like kind of plays it, they play him off to be a little possessed too when he's like,
Well, no, I don't think he's possessed. I think what it is like,
no, he's not. He would, but I'm saying they play it off to be. She's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Do it again. I'll come. I've never come like that before."
yeah,
That's
yeah,
concerning.
exactly. I
He's
think
like,
he
"Cut."
just like goes from zero to freak. He was like
He's been waiting for that,
so happy, like to like have her let loose like that.
but
You know,
us
he
saying
was
that,
thrilled.
I think that section of the movie, which feels really long to me,
Hmm.
weighed a lot of it down. Like it's very, it's not. It's very clumsy.
Yeah, it's definitely a slower part of the movie. Probably like a little bit of a little bit of time filler. I think the stuff with like you could probably just cut out the bit with the cops coming there and just do the stuff with the
That's
husband.
fine. Some of the husband's
I
fine.
think the stuff with the husband is like
I
the strong
like,
stuff. I think that's all what you need there. I think the stuff with the cops is a little,
like
yeah, it
it
does weigh
looked,
it down a little bit.
yeah, like the stuff with the cops for them then to not, because they're clearly flirting with the idea of her going after like hooking up with the female cop. you don't need to do that, but it never didn't go anywhere from either like a sex or a violence place. It gets undercut then with him coming in like, oh, she's fine. I liked his turn of 0 to 100.
Yeah.
0 to horny.
Yeah,
Like,
he was just like on board. He's like, well, whatever gets me more of this, I'm
like,
in. So
like,
he's
I
just
don't
like
know.
no questions asked. He's like, yep, this was great.
I don't know. Like, put it this way, I gave this a 2 out of 5 on my letterbox. I didn't hate it. It's not like I just.
Pretty low.
I think I wanted to what?
I said that's pretty low though. That's
Yeah, it's a 2.5.
You say you don't hate it, but that's pretty bad. A 2 out of 5 is pretty bad.
2.5. I could
A
give
two
it
and
up
a half.
to. I think I want to love it. I think I want to always give these props to these type of movies more than like, like let's be more critical. Let's be more critical of a high praised movie like Talk to Me, which I really liked,
Yeah.
than or The Pope's Exorcist. It's a better example. Like a or Exorcist, like Exorcist prequel,
Oh,
Believer
okay.
or
Yeah,
Believer, Exorcist Believer. Let's be more critical of Believer
yeah.
than this. I agree with that. So I really don't want to come out of this like stinks.
Yeah. Well, it's okay
There's
if it
just
didn't hit for you. That's
no.
not.
There's
I'm not like here to. I'm not trying to be. I didn't think. I probably like this a little bit better than you did,
you did
but I don't think this necessarily lives up to the potential of being like a successor to Reanimator or something like that. I
no,
think
and
it's
I don't think that's a good barrage. I don't. I like that's a hard thing to achieve. Like
right. I think
think
they kind of that's another thing they don't do themselves any favors by like drawing so much attention that way. You kind of set the bar at a certain place as well.
yeah, things of like Reanimator and those type of movies, right? It's like Scanners
Yeah.
or like these Meet the Feebles or Dead Alive, whatever you want to call it. A lot of the times, and it's actually the movie we were talking about I watched earlier too of Destroy All Neighbors. Like these movies we're making today, that's cool they're getting made that are just homages to these older ones and trying to keep the spirit of them. It works, but it has a it's hard. It's so hard they nail down that energy and same thing. It's like something like Psycho Gorman. I don't know if you ever gave that a watch.
I did not.
It's a horror comedy. It's
I
supposed to
know.
look
I was kind of annoyed by by like the kind
it's
of
supposed to look like
promotion of it and
yeah, it's
stuff.
supposed
You
to
know
look
what I
like
mean?
Power Rangers.
Yeah, and
Like
stuff. Stuff just kind of like turns you off. You see like too many previews of the people like kind of talking about it the wrong way, and you're just kind of
yeah,
like,
that
nah.
that movie, which these are also different, is one that truly like feels like then nails the spirit of it all. Is a fun time, and I was hoping Subtle Flesh would be that fun time that
Yeah,
Reanimator
I agree.
was.
I don't think. I think I wanted it to just be a little bit more balls out. I wanted to go a little harder.
Hmm.
It does. Like I said, in the end, and like we can kind of get to the finale.
Well, there's more.
Basically,
Yeah,
wait, like she's had her second possession now. She knows that if he can get a hold of her again, and possess her body again, that'll be it. That's the end. He comes to her office, and this is where we get the plan and payoff for both the hypnosis and the window. She manages to kind of like hypnotize him and slow him down and keep him from speaking the magic words that would body switch them again. And then she, throws his ass out, drags his ass out a window, which is pretty good stuff.
yeah. That's why I said the ending bit
hmm
picked
Oh,
me
getting
back
into
up in
the
the movie.
actual end, like I said, we're not quite there
Oh,
yet.
I know we're not there, but like with the window and like when she stabs him in the head with it's whatever instrument it is in the
Yeah.
hospital, and like runs him over and again. Just say,
Oh, I love the backup camera, seeing him in the backup camera as she was like running
mhm.
into him. That was a lot of fun.
I
Um,
I because I thought for a second it was going to going, and this is, and it was just like passion at that time of murder. She could have been like, patient, my patient attacked me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's still ways to get away with it, for sure.
But no,
But
she
that basically
didn't.
catches us up with the
Barbara Crampton, and she's like,
with
oh,
Barbara
because
Crampton and the framing device. We're kind of back in the present, and that's where she's like, Barbara Crampton's like, yeah, he's super dead. She's like, no, you have to destroy the body. Promise me you'll destroy the body. But of course, he gurgles out the magic words and gets back into her body again.
And he does.
while she's talking to Barbara Crampton, which is the second time. I did have to say, speak of bad psychiatrists and people who are supposed to be smart but clearly are not, this is the second time that Barbara Crampton is like fully witness to a change. Like the person is
Well,
one personality, has a full freak out, and then
yeah,
becomes another person, and still she's does not register, does not is like has not clocked what's going on at all.
yeah. Earlier in the movie, she sees the same exact thing with the
It's when he
boy.
kidnaps himself, or when
Yeah,
he uses the
and
kid's body to
changes.
kidnap her.
She's like, "Oh, is this some sort of role play or whatever?" It doesn't really. Yeah, Brian, that's a great point. That she's just
This is
like,
the second
"Huh?"
time she's seen it now, and she's still not registering. She's
And
like,
the only thing that triggers her to be like, "Oh my God, it's possession. This isn't real." Is she asks possessed Heather Graham, "What's my like? What's my full name?" I think it is, or like, "What's my
yeah,
first name?" And she's like, "Of course I know your. What do you mean? Like, is this a
yeah.
game?" And she goes, "Oh fuck!" Calls the orderly over, and this is where I did have fun with it. Of like the like the
We're getting into
cop.
like multiple body jumps here
Hmm.
now. We're like switching around. We got the somebody's in the court. I love the spirit of Heather Graham is trapped in the corpse. It's the final move. She can't get back into her body, but like even though the body is dead, her spirit can animate it just like the other guys could, and she's like the body's like dragging itself down the hallway like super slowly, and I love just like people just are seeing it and reacting to it. It's not like a jump scare. It's just like in real time. People are just like, "What the fuck is that?"
Oh, you gotta see this, Doc.
Yeah, and they're like stopping and looking, and it just keeps coming. That was a lot of fun. A great practical corpse effect. Looked really good. Um, but we're getting like, now the thing's trying to get from Heather Graham into Barbara Crampton and who's who, and they're doing a lot of that like, no, she's me, shoot her kind of vibe. And that was fun. I enjoy that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, they like hold hands to be like we're connected or whatever. They say what they said, and then bam, bam, he just shoots him in the head, hurt the
Yeah,
corpse in the head. But she comes back, jumps around. Um, yeah, and then they have one moment like I'm like, oh man, that security guard did not deserve that shoot in the head. You need your one horror movie like
yeah.
death that's truly like this guy did nothing to anyone.
Who was he hurting? Come on.
Although Barbara Crampton trying to full, take that gun away and then just giving it right over was like
Yeah,
peak peak act. It was almost like like when people can't when they're acting they can't naturally like drop water on like it's hard to like knock a cup on someone.
yeah.
That's how that scene plays out. It might be on purpose too. It was like, oh
I like there was good bullet etiquette though, as far as like number of shots to her running
mhm.
out. That was good. I like that. That played perfectly. And then it's basically got your classic Lovecraftian bummer ending where Barbara Crampton's mind is trapped in Heather Graham's body, locked away in a padded room. The spirit has taken over Barbara Crampton. She's in a position of power now. She's just kind of free to. We get the impression that she's probably gonna try to fuck Heather Graham's husband
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
She
She's
clearly enjoyed
consoling him.
that.
She's consoling him. Anything you need, a little hand rub.
Hmm.
But takes out the Rolly cigarettes.
Yeah,
I do
tries the
like
vape, right? She
I
tries the
do
vape
like
and
the
is like,
vape.
eh.
I do like the vape bit, and that also tells you, ooh, this is like for me actually. Like I said, I give the credit where credit's due. Is like, ooh, this is like right, maybe a day or two right after reanimating into this body.
Yeah,
Like you see the vape. It's not like it's clearly because you see Barbara Crampton doing it early. Like this is a thing
yeah.
this woman does in the office. It just takes a rolly cigarette out, it rolls it up, get that last minute smirk, like I'm
Mhm.
still floating around. Um and
Barbara
I like
Crampton
that.
doing a great job of channeling that same, like you said, when you're playing possession, everybody has to kind of match the performances need to match, and I think she's fine. She does a really good job.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like it's fine. I didn't want to be like I said, it was a little hard on it. Um
No, I
But
think you're fair to me. I don't think you're under any obligation to like this in any a certain amount. Like I
no,
said, I think I liked it a little bit better than you, but it's probably not something I'm going to be going back to or
I
anything like that. You know what I mean?
I th- I think that's where my hang up is. I think personally, like, I've always liked to want to go back and watch
Hmm.
these, not H.P. Lovecraft or Stuart Gordon movies, but these type of movies, these like smaller, like, oh, it's a rainy day or whatever. I'll throw this on. It's fun to throw it in the rotation and just the same old, same old. Like, I've seen the movie, like, it's not a perfect movie either, but like Bad Milo, the Ken Marino butt demon movie.
Yeah,
More time, like, it was, like a few times where no one should see that movie more than once. Like,
yeah,
so I think that's where, like, my kind of like bummerness comes from it. It's of
yeah. Personally, I mean, I think it was like I said. I think it was fine for what it was. I think possibly like going so hard on the tribute aspect hurt it a little bit because maybe it set expectations a little bit high. Um, but I do think Heather Graham's having a really good time, and it's great to see
she's
her back and going for broke. And like, I did think there was a moment where I thought they were gonna go body double on her, and I was like, not that I'm like even a horny teen anymore, but I'm like, they really sold this on like horny Heather Graham's big return, and I was like, you're not like now you're gonna. It seems like that's why would you even bother then? Like, why would you even do it? Like, why would you make such a big deal about it? But
they
but they also I also glad that they didn't it didn't feel exploitative. The nudity felt like
no.
appropriate. They didn't like constantly force Heather Graham to just like get naked,
Well,
you
she
know?
was never nude. Like,
No,
she
no.
was suggestive, which,
Yeah.
like you said, Heather.
But she did her own like stuff. It wasn't they didn't like awkwardly cut to a body double or anything,
No, no, no.
which I'm
She
glad.
looked
Like
great. She
she
looked
looked
great,
great and she should be confident in herself and I'm glad they did. I'm glad.
and yeah, it yeah, that was a surprise. Once again, subtle flesh. I kind of assumed it would be like horny, but I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot. But yeah,
I think when you do the thing for this when you do the picture for
thumbnail.
the cover for the episode, you
Mhm.
should change it to subtle flesh because you've been saying subtle flesh a lot and it's suitable flesh, but I like subtle flesh.
Hey,
I know it'll look great. Nobody'll notice. Subtle. It'll be a
well,
subtle change.
I
Eh.
I can do that. I can do that.
No, you can. You're very talented. No, I'm
No, no, it's fine. I literally didn't clock that suitable, subtle. Uh, yeah, dude, it's fine. I love the performance. I feel
yeah.
another Heather Graham
I
thing
think
is,
fine is like a perfect way to describe this movie.
and I feel bad for Heather Graham because she, do you know, like, what she's was known for of the last, like, decade or so?
Oh, yeah.
She's one of the only people to ever have her sitcom be canceled after, like, the first commercial break. She had a
That's rough.
sitcom. Um, she had a sitcom. I think it wasn't that long ago. Um, and I mean, obviously, this is what I heard the story recently. Rumor or whatever the fuck it is. Goes to commercial, or goes to commercial, like, at least in the pilot, and they cancel that shit. It does not get. They were like, we'll air the rest, or we're not, and
That's
they
rough.
finished the episode. And that wasn't that long ago. That was supposed to be like her, like, back on NBC
Yeah.
or whatever the fuck it is. What's it called? Ooh, she was in Norm of the North. Yeah, it's a bad badge of honor. Um, so yeah, Heather Graham was known for that, but I don't. I might have made that up.
You don't. Maybe it wasn't about her. You might be thinking of someone else.
Heather Graham TV show. Uh, is it? Am I thinking of another actress?
I think you are.
I think I'm thinking of another actress. Oh
This is
fuck.
gonna be great. Yusef, leave all this in.
TV series. No, you should leave it in.
Leave it all in.
Uh, I thought it was sitcom canceled.
It was probably
I
Katherine Heigl.
No, it was Heather Graham.
Oh, okay.
Emily's Reasons Why Not.
That's a
It
terrible
was
name. Too clunky. Clunky.
2006. So it wasn't recent.
No, that's a long, long time
Uh
ago.
it yeah, dude. It was canceled after a single airing. Apparently they realized that at first. And I heard they shot 6 episodes, all were unaired. There was a
Yeah, I
DVD
think
of it.
I feel like it's just one of those things where she's good. She just needs the right project.
She's
You know,
good.
I'm actually a fan. I know I'm like one of the few. I'm a fan of the Johnny Depp from Hell, the Jack the Ripper movie, and she's like the lead female lead in that. But they make her do an English accent. Don't give Heather Graham an English accent. Why would you do it? Why?
No, 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 no.
No,
Yeah,
bad.
I remember her in of that time being in one of like an early memory. Do you remember when they tried to make Kevin uh American Pie, what's his name? It's not Kevin Klein, it's
Chris Klein.
Chris Klein.
Yeah.
Chris Klein, like a thing.
Oh yeah, didn't they have like a
Say it.
Fairly Brothers style movie
Yeah, it was
together? Those
called
two of them.
Say It Isn't So.
Okay.
And I never forget the movie. She's the lead, and I think
It's not
he's.
Fairly Brothers, but it kind of had that same
It's the
feel,
same
right?
vibe. It's like
Yeah.
that, like Be Myself and Irene or
Right,
whatever.
kind of gross out rom com.
This is
You
what
know.
this is what I remember of it, and this is a good. I think it's a good way to end the episode with a childhood story of me watching movies at the age that I shouldn't. So it's 2001. I'm probably 10 if it's on HBO. So it's probably 2002. My parents are away. My grandparents are over watching us, and we grew up with HBO. My brother is probably 13, 14. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna watch this movie. You can sit with me, watch it." We're watching it. I remember my grandparents were also watching it. We were in the basement. They were watching the same movie upstairs. Or ran up, and they're like, "Get back downstairs. You can't be watching this," because his assumably probably teen sister in the movie
Yeah.
is goth, is like, "What, these?" and takes off her shirt, and there's this huge, like, pierced tits. Like with, like, I forget if they're chained, but I never forget that scene and my grandparents being like, "You guys can't watch this shit." And we're watching it down in the basement, right? And
Right.
and probably at that age thinking it's the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life
Sure.
because it's
Everything is.
everything is, and it's probably fucking awful.
Man,
Actually, it's
but
not probably.
Chris Klein, like you got to give it to him. Between Election and American Pie and the Rollerball remake, I mean that guy was banging them out.
He was. I think one of the best. I'll give him. I think he's great in Christmas, in Just Friends,
Oh, is he
as
in
the
Just
douchebag,
Friends?
like EMT musician who steals thing, and in American Reunion, they made his character be a shitty, like, sports commentator, like,
Yeah.
who was like on Dancing with the Stars, and he did a great job of being those two. Like, so maybe he's just good at playing shitty, but yeah,
I mean, hey, I'm
he
on the
cashed that.
record.
He cashed
Election
that
is
shit
like one
in.
of my favorite movies. It broke him out by basically, I think he was just playing a version of himself. I think he's just kind of like a nice dumb guy who got
Oh,
lucky, and there's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that.
He cashed that shit in.
Yeah.
He's apparently on 30 episodes of Sweet Magnolias or whatever that is. So he worked. No, yeah, the Benchwarmers 2. He's
Oh,
really
oof. The straight to DVD sequel of a John Hader David Spade vehicle, huh? Rough.
Oh man, the worst part is I gotta watch Rollerball soon because How Does It Get Made just covered it, and I'm like, date night.
I've never seen original James Caan Rollerball, let alone the remake.
I I did listen to the episode, and Jason Mantzoukas was like, honestly, watch the James Caan one if you want to watch any form of Rollerball, but I don't recommend either.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably just better James Caan movies to enjoy.
Yeah, man, you can watch Thief. All
Yeah,
right,
just watch Thief again.
I'm gonna ring this back in, even though I was the one on the tangent. Um, but suitable flesh, not subtle flesh.
Settle.
Yeah, man. No, I'm glad we talked about it, and like I
It's
like
not, like I said,
discovering.
it's fun to do a new release. That's a blast.
Yeah, we should try to give the.
There's one. I'll put it out there right now. I just saw a trailer for the next Oz Perkins movie, Longlegs. I would love to
No,
check that out.
we gotta cover that. No, we gotta cover that. That's
I'm
Cage.
I'm actually a fan. I know everybody loves Blackcoat's Daughter, but I actually think Oz Perkins' second movie, Gretel and Hansel, with Sophia
So
Lillis from the It movies, I really like it. It's really moody and atmospheric, and like,
you're the one who told me about that.
yeah, I
Not told me
really
about that.
enjoy it.
You've recommended that, and it's funny you say everyone loves Blackcoat's Daughter because I vividly remember that was a new release asking different horror before we did this show,
Hmm.
different horror people, what's this about? And no one gave it a thumbs up. They were like, it
Really?
wasn't for me. And that was like,
I always felt like that one got a pretty good reception, but maybe I've just running
no,
in
I think
different
it did.
circles.
I think it get a fine reception, but at the time, if I remember correctly, that was, well, when we had this, that was, the same internet publications of like Collider, Screen Junkies. It was like
Yeah,
Perry Nemiroff and Clark.
Clark Duke.
No, the girl, the woman.
I know.
Yeah,
I wish it was Clark Duke though.
it was Clark Duke. Clark Duke was like his shit. No,
What's going on with Clark Duke? Where's he at? What happened to him? Where'd he go?
no, he was the Barry Keoghan just absorbed his,
Every weirdo role, even those ones.
yeah. It's like, oh, funny weirdo role. I'm taking it now. I'm gonna do
Taking
hot
that
ones in a
too.
tank top for some weird reason. Anyway, Brian, anything else to add?
No. I would still recommend checking this movie out. If you watch our show for that sort of thing. I know we don't rate or rank, but like just as as a curiosity, it's worth a watch. You're not gonna feel like you wasted your time watching it.
Yeah. Check it out. I'd be very curious to know what everyone thinks.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, great episode, Joe. I know that it was a tough one for you. We struggled through it.
We made it. We made it. It was maybe our best one. We talked a lot. All right.
Said a lot of things.
Stay frightful. See you next time.
Stay frightful.
Bye. Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.